Look at this ground.
January. Frozen. Nothing visible. No seed was planted here last fall. No one came out here in the cold to prepare anything.
And yet, in 6 weeks, this exact patch of earth is going to push up food, without anyone doing a single thing. Because 80 years ago, someone planted a root here, and that root never stopped.
Here is what happened, and it happened fast.
Before World War II, most American home gardens and small farms included perennial food crops, plants whose roots survived winter underground and regrew every spring. Families depended on them precisely because they required nothing after establishment. No seed cost, no replanting labor, just harvest.
Then came the post-war agricultural revolution. The USDA, working alongside newly powerful seed and chemical companies, began promoting annual hybrid crops, varieties that produced maximum yield in one season and then died, varieties whose seeds could not be saved and replanted because they were hybrid, varieties that required new purchases every year. By 1980, an entire generation of American gardeners had grown up without ever seeing a perennial food crop. Not because perennials stopped working, because there was no money in a plant that never needed to be bought again. I want to show you 5 of them.
You already know this is possible. You've seen it.
That clump of wild onions that comes back in the same corner of someone's yard every single year, no matter what. That patch of something green that pushes through cracked pavement every April, in the same crack, in the same spot, for as long as you can remember.
That's a perennial root doing what perennial roots do.
The soil holds the energy underground all winter. When the temperature rises, the stored energy pushes upward. Every spring, every year. No instruction needed. No human intervention. What your great-grandparents understood is that you can direct that process. Choose the plants, place the roots once, and then simply harvest from the same spot for the rest of your life. That's what we're doing today.
Here's the number that stays with me.
The average American gardener spends $80 to $150 on seeds and transplants every spring.
Times 20 years of gardening, up to $3,000 on annual replanting. For plants that die every fall and require the same purchase the following spring. Meanwhile, a single Jerusalem artichoke tuber, planted once, 15 years ago, would have produced between 1,500 and 2,000 pounds of food by now, from one planting. That tuber costs $8 at a garden center, or nothing if someone you know already grows them. The math is not subtle.
Plant number 1.
Jerusalem artichoke. Helianthus tuberosus.
Not actually from Jerusalem, not actually an artichoke. The name is a corruption of the Italian word for sunflower, girasole, which is what this plant is, a wild sunflower native to North America. It grows 6 to 12 feet tall. It produces yellow flowers in fall, and underground all summer long it is producing potato-like tubers in quantities that will surprise you. One plant, left in place, produces 15 to 20 pounds of tubers per season. A small patch of 4 to 6 plants, which takes up roughly the space of one parking spot, produces 60 to 120 pounds of food annually. Every year, from the same roots without replanting.
The tubers taste like a cross between a potato and a water chestnut. Mild, slightly sweet, starchy. They can be eaten raw, roasted, boiled, or made into soup. Native American communities across the continent use them as a staple food for centuries.
Here's the one thing people get wrong. They pull all the tubers at harvest. Don't do that. Leave a third of them in the ground. The ones you leave are next year's crop. They'll overwinter, and by March, they'll already be growing. Plant in spring, harvest in fall. Leave a third. That's the entire management requirement for the next 20 years.
Plant number 2. Asparagus. Asparagus officinalis.
This one requires patience in year 1. You plant the crowns, the root systems, not seeds, in spring. You do not harvest the first year. You let the ferns grow all summer to feed the roots. In year 2, you harvest lightly. In year 3, the bed is in full production. And then it stays there for 20 to 30 years, from the same roots, without replanting. A 10-foot row of asparagus, planted once with crowns that cost $15 to $20 total,
will produce harvests every spring for the rest of your gardening life.
The crowns go deep, sometimes 4 feet down. Frost cannot kill them. Drought weakens them, but does not end them. An established asparagus bed is one of the most resilient food-producing systems a home gardener can create.
People pay $3 to $5 a pound for asparagus at grocery stores in spring. A productive 10-foot row produces 8 to 12 pounds per season.
One-time purchase, 30 years of harvest.
The seed industry cannot sell you asparagus every year, which is probably why nobody is talking about it.
3 more, faster this time.
Horseradish, Armoracia rustica.
This root does not ask for permission.
Plant one root section in spring. By fall, you have a plant. By the following spring, you have a patch. By year 3, you have as much horseradish as you will ever need, and it will not stop, regardless of what you do or don't do.
Horseradish is genuinely difficult to remove once established. Fragments of root left in the soil will regrow. It is, in practical terms, unkillable. The roots are harvested in fall, grated fresh, and used as a condiment or medicinal preparation that has been documented in European folk medicine for over 2,000 years.
Planted where you want it permanently, it will be there.
Rhubarb, Rhubarbarum.
1 crown. Planted once. Productive for 15 to 20 years.
Rhubarb emerges every spring before almost anything else is growing, March or April, depending on your zone. The stalks are harvested through early summer. The plant dies back in fall. The crown overwinters, and in March it comes back again.
Nothing you do or don't do changes that cycle. It simply happens.
Egyptian walking onion, Allium proliferum.
This one plants itself. The bulbils, the small clusters that form at the top of the stalk in late summer, become heavy enough that the stalk bends, touches the ground, and the bulbils root. The plant walks across the garden, planting itself as it goes.
1 plant becomes 4. 4 becomes 16. Left alone for 3 years, a single Egyptian walking onion will have populated a significant section of your garden with edible, harvestable onions, without you doing anything at all. These are not complicated plants. They are not demanding plants. They are plants that want to grow. All they need is a place to do it.
Here is what you can do this spring.
1 plant from this list is enough to start. If you have space for a patch the size of a parking spot, even on the edge of your yard, in a corner that gets sun, Jerusalem artichoke crowns are available at most garden centers in March and April. 5 tubers, $8 to $12. Plant them 8 inches deep, 2 feet apart. Water them in, walk away. Come back in October. If you have a 10-foot strip that gets full sun, asparagus crowns are available the same time of year. $15 for a 10-crown package. Plant once, harvest for 30 years.
If you have a fence line or a back corner where something can spread, plant horseradish. 1 root cutting, it will handle the rest.
You do not need all 5 immediately. You need 1 established bed, because 1 established perennial bed changes the relationship you have with your garden permanently. It shifts from something you have to do every year to something that simply happens, whether you tend it or not.
2 questions I know you're asking.
First, how much space do you actually need? Less than you think.
A 6-plant Jerusalem artichoke patch fits in 12 square feet. A 10-foot asparagus row takes up 40 square feet. A horseradish corner needs 9 square feet and will stay there if you harvest consistently.
All 5 plants together can fit in a space smaller than most living rooms. Second, what if I have bad soil?
Jerusalem artichoke grows in clay, sandy soil, and compacted ground that most vegetables won't touch. Horseradish grows in gravel. Asparagus prefers loose soil but tolerates most conditions once established.
These plants survived for centuries without raised beds, soil amendments, or irrigation systems.
They don't need perfect conditions. They need a start.
The thing about these 5 plants that keep sitting with me is how central they were to human survival for so long.
Jerusalem artichoke was a staple food for dozens of Native American nations before European contact. When early European settlers arrived and faced their first winters without the crops they'd planned to grow, it was often Jerusalem artichoke, given to them or observed growing wild, that kept communities alive.
Asparagus was cultivated by the ancient Egyptians, documented in Greek and Roman texts.
and grown by Thomas Jefferson at Monticello. It has been in continuous cultivation for over 2,500 years because it works.
Horseradish appears in the earliest written records of European and Middle Eastern food preservation. It has been used medicinally and as a food crop for longer than most of the vegetables Americans grow in their gardens today have existed.
These are not trendy garden plants. They are not experiments.
They are the foundation of what people ate before anyone could walk into a store. And somewhere in the last 80 years, as the seed catalog arrived every January and the garden center filled with annuals every April, most American gardeners quietly forgot that the ground itself could keep feeding them, year after year, from roots that never needed to be replaced.
$8 to $12. One afternoon in spring, and the ground starts remembering on its own. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.